Guys, it's Stephen here, back with another video. How are you all feeling today? How are you coping after yesterday's crushing disappointment, the 3-1 loss against Liverpool in the Community Shield? It can be a horrible pill to swallow sometimes, can't it, when you lose against possibly your biggest rivals in terms of competitive football. But sometimes that is the medicine that you got to swallow, man. Sometimes these things are necessary for progress. You learn an awful lot more in defeat than you do in victory, and that's pretty much for a reason, because you pay more attention to your weaknesses and where you went wrong and so on. Doesn't help at the time, but I guarantee you come the first game of the season it will help. Personally, I'm alright with it. I moved on from it pretty quickly last night because I understood, I guess, the context of the game. And ultimately, it is still technically pre-season. I know the Community Shield these days doesn't feel that way, but it sort of is at the same time. So all I can do is accept that there were work in progress signs there, but there were some positives. I do think there were some positives, but there was also some very obvious negatives, but nothing that I thought was critical to the way that we play. Nothing that I thought was fundamentally concerning, just more some rough edges that we need to smooth over and sharpen out ahead of the season, which I'm sure we will. I would say as well, if you are a fan of these videos, please do hit the like button. Let's try and get to 1,000 likes on this video if we can. And while you're at it, let's try and hit that subscribe button as well. Where am I at in subscribers? As I'm recording this video, 62,843. Let's get to 62,900. I want to get to 63k. We're only 157 off. We can do it. Hit the subscribe button, help support the channel, help support Big Blue. So we're going to start with the only place I think we really can start after yesterday, and especially after that first few minutes. Sorry, the last few minutes. Haaland is human. Yep, I know it really seems hard to kind of comprehend after we all probably watched him update his firmware a few times on the pitch, but he isn't actually a robot. He is actually flesh and blood like the rest of us. I know it sounds crazy, but he is a man who can make mistakes. He is fallible, and occasionally he will miss a chance or two in front of goal. Unfortunately, in this instance, very, very publicly, he did miss a sitter at the end, and he probably should have scored in that game if we're being totally honest. It's so hilarious that you look at the XG from yesterday, and City outperformed Liverpool in terms of expected goals, and I think it's fair to say we probably should have. I mean, I think the tie would have been fair in this game. I'm not saying that as an embittered City fan. I'm just looking at the chances that we created. City ended up creating more than Liverpool in the end, and we definitely missed some big sitters, and Haaland was culpable as well, unfortunately. I do think, though, the signs overall were relatively positive with Haaland. I do think the fact that he got themselves into those positions and he probably should have scored, he will score eventually. It's Haaland. He's too good not to. It's in his blood, and the fact that he just laughed off that chance at the end, where someone like Gabriel Jesus, and I know he's doing well at Arsenal, sure, but in general he used to be really, really sad when he missed a chance and he beat himself up. Haaland doesn't care because he knows he's going to score loads of goals. But ultimately, what I was going to say is I still think there were some positive signs that against possibly the other best team in the world, he's still got loads of space, still created chances where City's still very much in second gear. Nowhere near our best, yet he still did get himself in those positions. And he did put the ball in the back of the net at one point. Of course, the ball had gone out of play, unfortunately, but he shows that he can finish, this guy, as we do know. And I've got no doubts whatsoever when Manchester City start to align with what Haaland is, when Guardiola starts to point out to Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo that he'll be on the shoulder of the defence and he'll be going before we realise, that is when Manchester City will start to capitalise on what makes Erling Haaland special. For now, though, I know people will do the banner and they'll share fail comments and whatever. Just ignore it. We're all going to have the last laugh when he starts to bang in loads and loads of goals, which he will do because he's a machine built for goals, but not literally a machine. He is human, and let's give him a little bit of time, which is the next point. I do think we learned that Manchester City need time. Unfortunately, it's just part of the reality of how Manchester City approach pre-season. We can moan about it if we want to, but I ain't going to teach Guardiola how to suck eggs, unfortunately. He does know a thing or two about managing a squad and fitness and so on. And Guardiola just so happens to like a slow start to pre-season because he just likes it. And like, who am I, once again, to tell him that he's wrong? I mean, his record, it speaks volumes. Ultimately, he makes sure the players are happy, they're rested, and they come back refreshed. It may lead to an undercooked start every now and then, but it's just, you know, it's just the nature of it. We don't run out the blocks like this. Manchester City aren't that style. And I mentioned it on the watch-along yesterday in the match reaction, but if you go watch the first episode of the Together documentary on Man City Plus, there's an interview at one point with a conditioning coach, Manchester City's conditioning coach, and it was at this time last year during pre-season, and he was talking about how they know that Manchester City takes 7 or 8 weeks to get going. It's not ideal, they say, but it's just what they expect realistically. And I looked back and someone pointed this out to me on Twitter, so I can't remember who it was now, but thank you for pointing out. My thumbnail for last season when we lost the Community Shield against Leicester was essentially the same as yesterday. I put very, very rusty. I think yesterday still very rusty was the title as well. It's just a matter of fact that Manchester City at this stage of the season aren't quite ready. And if you're going to play a team as good as Liverpool, the chances are you'll come up a little bit short. They're just faster out the blocks than us, but we end the season brilliantly. So do not worry about it at all. And I'm sure once we have a little bit of time, the likes of KDB, who was all over the place, and Mahrez and whatever, and maybe even Grealish, and I think a couple of defenders, Cancelo particularly, they'll find their rhythm, they will find their form. And it happens. We do it all the time. We worry overtly, and then come the end of the season, guess who's riding high? Manchester City Football Club. When this meticulous machine is in full flight. That's the thing about this football we forget. It's a machine. It does take time to grease those gears and oil the cogs and all that kind of stuff. It takes a little bit of time when you play football as good as City to get into that rhythm again. But then the muscle memory kicks in and then Manchester City are excellent. We'll get it. We do need a fullback though. That is the next thing I put down. I think yesterday's bench and maybe the performances of Cancelo sort of highlighted how we probably could do with a fullback. A traditional left-back in particular would be really, really useful. Because Cancelo, as much as I love him, he can be hot and cold every now and then. I do think every now and then we do probably need an alternative. And mainly just for numbers as well. As much as I really rate the likes of Mbete and Wilson-Esbrand, we're not going to be relying on them in the big game if we need a fullback. We just know we're not going to. Guardiola won't do it. So I would like to have a 𝐿𝐿𝐴 or someone like that. We do need that experience, unfortunately, because the squad does look very light in those positions otherwise. And I do think Cancelo, he does blow hot and cold. The amount of times that Zinchenko was called on because Cancelo lost a bit of form is rather telling, in my personal opinion. So when you've got Cancelo, who's great, but can also have those days, and you've got a squad that is known for being thin around December and January, and then the fact that we've only got a young fullback as the backup for the two senior ones, all roads point to the same direction, man. Like, with the end goal, we need a fullback, and we have to make sure that we get one in. I think it's crucial, absolutely crucial. I think we can't really deny it. And preferably as well, one with natural left-footed width, like 𝐿𝐿𝐴, could get forward and support to people like Grealish and Foden, who drift over that side, and Bernardo. It'd be absolutely huge for us. And I think the guy I just mentioned, Foden's energy is absolutely crucial. Like, when he came on the pitch, he showed what we all miss when he's facing the goal. The way that he links up with those, the way that he's sprightly, the way that he makes those runs off the shoulder of the defenders, which is probably something that he's learned, of course, as a false nine last year. Foden brings a brightness and an energy and a quick step to Manchester City's game that sometimes we can miss, when, especially now that Sterling's gone in particular. Foden, of course, you missed him during pre-season because, of course, he couldn't travel due to various reasons. But seeing him back in the team yesterday, seeing him come on as a double substitute with Alvarez, that was the kind of thing that puts a twinkle in your eye. And typically, he was involved in the goal because Foden pretty much always is. So I think Foden is going to be crucial to Manchester City this season because he has that energy, that dynamism, and that brilliance to his game, and that eagerness to link up with the likes of Haaland and so on. I've got no doubts whatsoever that he's going to be a big part of Manchester City's season. Hopefully, like the next guy. I've just put Alvarez hype. Once again, he came off the bench. Two 22-year-olds coming off the bench. Alvarez and Foden, beautiful stuff, man. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And the fact that once again he's played in probably the most difficult team to play against in world football, in the Community Shield, in a game where the eyes of the world are watching, and he comes on a guy who's never played at the European level, the Premier League level. Once the highest would probably. This is a Champions League final quality level in terms of Liverpool. And he come on and looked so at home. It was actually his work rate that tracked back that won the ball, that created this chance for the goal that led to it. If you watch it go back, he chases back, and I think he catches Fabinho in possession. Then he goes up the other end and a quick ball over the top, which leads to Foden. Then Haaland plays it inside. Eventually the ball goes over to Foden. And Alvarez, sprightly, alert, stabs it in, obviously, for the equaliser. That stuff is monumental. And I love that clip of Guardiola still doing the classic Guardiola training thing. By the way, I love Guardiola when he grabs a play and starts to do that training thing. Do you know why Guardiola does that? He does it because he senses brilliance. Like, he does it to the players that he thinks need it, that they could go a little bit further. Guardiola loves a project, and the way he was talking to Alvarez, to me, suggests he likes this guy because he presses and runs like a fucking lion, man. He absolutely works his arse off. But then you've got that ability, that sprightly link-up play, that intelligence to drift inside and create space for others around him and link up with the other players. He's going to go a long way in football, Alvarez. He's an intelligent forward. Once again, he may not be the superstar signing compared to someone like Haaland, but he might be a little bit of a hidden gem that Manchester City have got here. I believe he's the real deal. Obviously, he'll have the odd game like Haaland where he underwhelms, but that is football. That is human nature, but we've got ourselves a little bit of a gem potentially here. Guys, the 5 things that I learned. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you're feeling as well after yesterday. it can be disappointing, but I would always call for caution. Manchester City are a juggernaut when we get going, but like steam trains that are unstoppable when they get going, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get up to full speed, but there's nothing wrong with that because some of the most beautiful things in the world do exactly the same as well. Trust in the process, trust in Pep Guardiola, and trust that we're going to see some Haaland goals very, very soon. Thanks for watching this video. Please do hit the like button. Please do hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 63k if you don't mind. Thank you as well to everyone who's supporting on Patreon and on the memberships. It does help the channel, and there will be some bonus videos this week. So if you want to help a little bit more, patreon.com/esteemed company or youtube.com/esteemed company/join. Thank you. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. And don't worry, Prime soon come. In a bit.